So welcome to another episode of Healing Money Talks. I'm Emma Lucy Wall, and as usual I invite you to turn your phone onto airplane mode, to put the kettle on, make yourself a nice warm drink, sit somewhere comfortable, and if you possibly can, avoid all distractions and listen deeply to the conversation that's about to unfold. You never know what you might hear. So my very special guest today is Fiona McCloughlin. Fiona was born in the north of England, and she comes from a line of strong female healers. She's a professional designer and she's lived all over the world. In fact, Fiona calls herself, and a company she used to own, the Global Gypsy. She's also an energy bunny, and she's provided energy and relaxation and natural health services to individuals and corporates. She lived on a remote organic farm and rejuvenation retreat in New Zealand for 5 years. And Fiona loves peace and nature. She trained in the principles and practices of energy for almost 20 years with Chinese masters, and she's done loads of healing around managing her energy. As a coach, she embeds sustainability principles into her part-time consultancy for a fashion company in Melbourne. Fashion is the second most polluting industry. Fiona is still training energy every day. She leads relaxations, energy exercises and grounding, and she's setting up life education classes around life design. Fiona would love to study permaculture to round out her offering and add complementary skills. I met Fiona through the work of Sarah McCrum, and Fiona has a very long history with Sarah, I believe. Fiona, do you want to talk to us about where you first met Sarah and what was happening in those days?
Hello, Emma. Thank you so much for inviting me to your talks. I'm very honoured to be here with you and your listeners. Yes, my relationship with energy and Sarah are very deeply entwined and go back something like almost 20 years now. We actually met in central London, which is a little bit of a kind of a funny thing if you think about energy training. People think, oh, you're probably going to be on a mountain somewhere, or somewhere beautiful. We were actually in the right in the center, in the business area of London, where I first learned to really relax, and the kind of teaching that we had around that was, of course, if you can learn to relax in the center of the craziest energy and this frenetic, non-stop 24/7 London big city energy, then of course you can relax anywhere. So it was actually a wonderful experience, and as was meeting Sarah, who has been, she was and still is a tremendous inspiration and a wonderful teacher. And a dear friend as well.
Mm-hmm.
The point where the kind of the history with the money came into it, which was not there originally. We were purely training energy, but then it was that point where the energy was actually a business. We weren't running a monastery or something like that. It was actually a business which was teaching corporates about energy and bringing this ancient principles into everyday life. And so we realized that none of us really had a clue about money, and so much so that we couldn't run the business, and the business was going down and suffering as a result. And everybody was very, sort of stressed, even though we were training not to be stressed. Somehow it was a very challenging situation. And I had an opportunity at that point to work with a woman's millionaire kind of online summit, which was going on in London. I thought, well, that sounds really interesting. I was really taken with the kind of the topic and the heading. And so I volunteered to go and work there and had free tickets. So I gave a ticket to Sarah and said, why don't you come along to this? You know, it sounds interesting. It's lots of women kind of working things out and kind of getting online and, you know, working out how to do business. And so the lady that I was volunteering for was literally like kind of running around passing out books and getting her a coffee or whatever, you know, that needed to be done. Sarah was sitting there and I thought, God, I think she needs a book. And so I asked this lovely, lovely lady who'd written a beautiful book about how to be a money magnet. You know, could my friend have a book, because she was having a difficult time with the business she was running. So I managed to get this book passed to Sarah, not really thinking anything of it, except that, you know, it was going to be a distraction for it. Couldn't possibly, you know, it perhaps might do some good, or it is what it is. So Sarah got the book, and lo and behold, to me, I didn't know, Sarah, being a very good student, kind of took the book away and started studying it and doing exercises in it. And it turned out down the line, I think it was several months later, and the business was still suffering. She was still in this really difficult, very desperate position around money. And that's when the channeling started to happen. You know, she kind of started to receive and work through this message. And this book was perhaps just a ticket, you know, that gave her that opportunity. So we never know in that moment, you know, what can happen from what looks like a very, you know, very everyday kind of thing. You know, somebody passes you a book, but it, you know, things are not always what they seem. Something can just be that key to open up the door. And when it couples, often it comes as does with healing. And I've seen this so many times, and with physical healing, that when we're really up against a wall and, you know, the medical profession is saying, you know, there's not really, we don't know what it is, you know, we've done all the tests and we don't know, that we start to kind of, okay, we need to open up, we need to ask outside of our human experience. And that same principle, which I've seen a lot of through all my work with energy, the experience I've had personally, and also with clients who've had serious health, physical and emotional and mental problems, the same principles can be applied to money. And, you know, hopefully we're kind of, I was just saying to Emma before that we were kind of pioneering a lot. I think some of us that have trained energy and worked in spiritual areas for a long time. Yeah. And we've kind of gone through a bit of a rough road, and through our mistakes and our clumsiness and our kind of not knowing how to ask for things or how to interact with energy or things outside of our everyday experience, that we've kind of got now to a stage where we have got fast tracks, there are shortcuts. And this is what, you know, the work of, you know, I think Emma's trying to introduce and spread and open up and pass on to you, so that you can benefit from some of us who have been around and been doing, you know, either our yoga practices for donkey's years, or, you know, whatever it is, we've been working on ourselves, and now we have refined it, and we have got you know, there are messages coming through which we can fast track us. And it doesn't mean to say that everyone still has to have their own experience and it's going to be different for all of us. But when you have a coach or a guide or a really good handbook, it just makes things a lot easier than trying to work it out on our own.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
No, it makes perfect sense. And I know that the little exercise in the book was, if money could speak to you, what would it say? And maybe paraphrasing a little bit, but that's where Sarah's download then came from. And it is a beautiful book. Love Money, Money Loves You. I encourage everybody to read it, because there was a very strong message that money is good and it just wants to be there. It wants to be there supporting us, and all of this stuff that's been around. We were talking as well before, weren't we, Fiona, about how we got so disconnected from the divine, and it's become, particularly people in the spiritual world, or there's almost a big resistance, or take money away from me. It wouldn't be I'd be somehow compromising myself if I allowed money in. But that doesn't, it's not very empowering. And the more we, the good, the good people, the healers and the light workers resist it, then that doesn't actually help everybody, because the more it's allowed to flow. I mean, we were just having conversations about permaculture and taking care of the planet. When the people who have those feelings are the people who have the money, then we're going to be able to do more good. As one of my other speakers talked about, coming a care first economy. So bringing everything that every transaction we have comes from love. That gives me the opportunity to quickly talk about the heart, Fiona. You talked something incredible about the heart. Because we were talking about is love. Do you want to talk and tell me? Say it again.
Yes, I mean, I have a beautiful picture of the heart and why humans are so special, because Emma was talking about this bridge, and I think that's lovely, that how the heart bridges, and I really believe in that, with the frequency of that kind of connects humans to the heavens. But why our heart is so important is because we have a little spark, and it's a spark of the divine, of pure love, and that spark lives in our hearts, in the human heart, and that spark cannot be extinguished, no matter how dark or what is going on around. You have that spark inside you, and that is a spark of pure source energy, and they, nobody can take that away from us. It's locked in our hearts, and that's why humans are such a special species. We're connected to the divine, and no matter what anybody tells you, you are if you're human, you are divine, and you have the spark of life and creativity in your heart.
That is so beautiful. And as you were saying it, I have a Catholic upbringing, and I was very resistant to my Catholic upbringing. I'm sure you do, McCloughlin. That sounds like it's probably.
I come from a line of lapsed Catholics.
Well, I think we lapse for a reason. And for me,
Yeah.
the lapse was because God was put outside me, and I struggle still to this day. I struggle with the word God. I've settled recently on Gus, which is God, universe, source, and spirit, and it seems to encapsulate everything. But part of my Kundalini yoga training, they're quite close to the Sikhs, and they are very much about how we all hold divinity within us. It's not something that's outside. We don't have to talk to a priest to access it. It's within us. And when we know that, and we allow ourselves the freedom to flow with that, and to move energy around the world and around the economy and between one another.
We're flowing energy now from from Australia through to London via the equator and everywhere in between. So yeah, in a few, just in a millisecond, the energies, we're all connected. Yeah, and I think through our hearts. Yeah.
Yeah, and we're making this recording on the 11th of February, but it's going to be going out in March. But we are connected to the people who are listening to it and who are receiving it. So I love the way you talk about training energy, and that it's. I was trying to change her bio, and she said, "No, I train energy."
Well, in the same way, I was saying, in the same way, Emma, that people train sport, really, and training energy is no different. We kind of, and we were also talking about the woohoo thing. I don't believe energy is woohoo. I think it's, it's a kind of a bridge between art, science. It's very real, actually. It's only because we can't see it that we don't believe. But it's actually what is the dark matter, what is it's actually bigger than this solid world, so-called solid world. There is much more in the invisible world. So there's a lot of training we can do around that. There's so much to learn because it's not something that we've been taught in our schools or educations, most of us. I mean, if you're very lucky and you perhaps went to more of a Steiner type of school, you might have some more energy principles, but still, this kind of knowledge, there's so much, and a lot of it, it's not like you can read it in a book. It's more, it's you connecting, it's you giving up, a lot of giving up self and letting go. So there are, I've trained all kinds of energy exercises, from silent qigong to movement, and then kind of deep relaxation, and more struggling to deeply relax, and and then there's a lot. And I still, as I say, I train every day, and the way that I train on my own, but I also train with coaches. And when I get stuck, that's when I know I need to have somebody there's always somebody further up the line who you can ask for help and go to. And I really strongly encourage people to look for a good coach and to ask for help if they, when they hit a hard patch and they're struggling, because we're not supposed to struggle, and it's only because we don't have the knowledge, and that's nothing bad, that's nothing to be ashamed of, or because we weren't taught. Like, we weren't taught about money, and we're ashamed to talk about money, and we're ashamed if we don't have money, and we're embarrassed if we have money. And there's so much awkward, and Sarah talks about this again a lot in the book. We all carry so many old messages around money, and they come from lineage back from our ancestors. There were lots of, I probably have have Irish genes. There's potato famine, and starvation, and people coming over on the boats, and we all have these stories somewhere. I mean, most of us can look back, and there'll be people that so much suffering in our past. But I've done quite a lot of work with healing, my ancestral lineage, and really thanking them for bringing me to this point. And for all those lessons and that I've received from them, and all that they went through for me to bring me here at this point, and bring all of us here. That can be something that's really nice to do, to thank your ancestors and just kind of go back. And even if you don't have a clear picture of your grandparents or your great grandparents, but you can still bring them into your heart and thank them, because we are in this beautiful school of life here with so many opportunities. And when we heal ourselves, we can heal 5 generations. We can heal back. We can clean out all the messages and help our ancestors too, and help our children and our children's children. We're cleaning the whole ancestral lines when we do the work ourselves. So it's very, very valuable. It's one of the most precious things you can do. Never think there's nothing you can do. And it really isn't a matter of being clever, or I'm not good at reading or something. It really, anyone can do that. We can just, once we decide, make the decision, and have that intention, that I really believe everything is possible.
I think that's really interesting what you say there about energy, and about how, because we can't see it and we can't pick it up. I mean, I like to say, well, could you give me a piece of gravity, please? Anybody want to give me a bowl full of gravity? And my other favourite thing is, if you take down, we have bodies which are made of organs, which are made of cells, which are made of molecules, which are made of atoms. And then when you start to get into the atom is more energy than it is matter. And that fascinating thing about quarks, about how they only exist when we're looking at them, because we are capable of moving energy. And like you say, we can move it in the present, the past, the future, and spatially as well.
And we're creating our reality. Yeah, exactly. We are amazing, incredible creators.
And we've forgotten. But we're at this incredibly amazing point in history where we're remembering. People across the planet are, and I don't have bells and whistles. I've not had a lovely light. haven't had a light show. But like Fiona, I think that's something Fiona and I really have in common. It's just this kind of deep knowing that this is the reality, and that we are in choice. You were talking earlier about decisions that people make. Oh, you were talking about when you didn't really harness energy, the energy of money, or the energy around creating money,
Mhm.
because you were wild and free and
Absolutely, yeah. As a kind of as a young, design student working in bohemian restaurants, and going off to kind of Morocco on motorbikes and things, I didn't really have any, much idea about reality. I was kind of very much in the creative, in the moment, just being creative, and yeah, not much thought about kind of the sort of decision, things more than just like what I was doing at that point. It's just, it was quite, looking back on it, actually quite selfish and hedonistic. But I saw so much pain and suffering, and I didn't know how to cope with that. So my antidote was, let's just, be free, have fun, be a bit wild, and nothing bad, but just creative and a bit kind of not really planning for the future or thinking about how money could actually do so much good. And that's taken, a school of hard knocks, and kind of, and plus, the energy training, and seeing how that worked in healing physically, to see that actually, when I was honest with myself, I had all those old messages about money, which were actually almost like a kind of a sickness, around money, and that I wasn't being honest with myself, and I was not really being generous with, I wasn't being honest about my abilities, and how, we all have potential to make money, and we are all creative. And when we start to look outside ourselves, which I think doing a lot of relaxation and a lot of inner work on myself helped me to do, to see that bigger picture and really get the kind of the awareness that contribution, the morality as well around contribution and service. And I'm not talking in a kind of like a nun kind of way. I mean, just like, but through how creativity can be a service, and how following your passion and the things that actually you're really good at, if whatever it is, if it is gardening, or it's making amazing power balls, or whatever it is you do, or writing books, whatever skill you have, that you can actually, that's a service, and that's a contribution. Bringing up kids, doing whatever you do with passion and with love and from your heart, you're always contributing, and that we can always do more. And I think that's something else which Sarah teaches, is to kind of expand, and look at what you can do more, and we don't have to do it all together, all alone. So that's the important part. We're doing this together, and
yeah,
we can start by getting together on shows like this one, and talking to kindred spirits, and sparking each other's imagination. We realize we're not alone, and that we have this network, this energy network, and we're connected. And once we start to vibrate on that frequency, we connect to other beautiful people who are also vibrating on our frequency, and we start to build this web. And so we're all working together. There's always going to be, we just ask, and then there's going to be people around who are interested in what you're doing and want to kind of build something together with you. So we start to expand and really build, we're super creative.
yeah. And we're this COVID, for me, COVID is a huge gift. I know it doesn't always feel like it. I mean, it's a cold February morning out there for me in the UK, and I've been locked down for a while, and I find that external thing quite disturbing, what's going on in the world. But my inner, that thing that Fiona said about the spark in the heart, they can't shut our souls down. And it does feel as well. For me, there's this big crunch going on, the old and the new. And as the new comes in, the old is making a big noise. And I think we just need to stay together. Those of us who are doing this kind of work and who are interested in where we're headed, just we need to keep talking, we need to keep sharing, we need to keep loving each other, supporting each other, and allowing it. And it's okay to welcome abundance for doing the thing you love. That is even more abundance. When we're working in our flow, that's when we're at our very best. So just thank you, Fiona, for your...
Absolutely. No, Emma, you said that beautifully. You really kind of put it all together, and yeah, thank you. Yeah.
There's next door neighbour's dog. I'm sure that's being heard. Fiona, I want to thank you so much. I know it's getting late where you are. Fiona's on the other side of the world.
It's been an absolute pleasure. It's lovely and I'm so glad that we could share, and I hope that your listeners took something away from this. And yeah.
Yeah, I think the answers are relax, trust, and grow your community and feel safe. We are safe, no matter what. Our hearts keep beating.
Absolutely. And be kind to ourselves, and be very kind to ourselves. Be gentle with yourself, and know that there's more. Know that whenever, that all around you, energy is all around you all the time. And when you connect with energy, everything is possible.
Yes, exactly.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.